Page 363, you will see our final two sentence pattern blueprints, double the who and triple decker power. Let's build a double the who sentence. Grab your sentence pattern blueprints chart. We've learned the travelers. Next, we are going to learn how to write a double the who. We are building a double the who. We already know most of the parts of this sentence because this sentence has an adjective, noun, verb, how, why, where, when cards. That's the same as our traveler. Notice another noun card with a comma before and after that card. We are taking our traveler sentence pattern and we're going to add one more item to it, and that's called an appositive. An appositive is a word or a group of words that are going to tell us more about that noun. I could have Jane, and then I'm going to tell you more information about Jane. I'm going to identify her to you. Jane, my older sister. Positive is giving you more information about the noun that it is next to, and it could be before or after that noun. We have our double the who recipe, we have our cards out, or you could have individual students who stand up in the front of the class holding on to each one of the cards. The first thing we have to ask is, what kind of sentence do we want to write? For information or a story, a narrative? Let's write a double the who sentence for a story. If we're writing a sentence for a story, we always have to start with our idea, visualize a scene. Then we will use that scene to form our sentence. We had a basketball player really upset because his team was being rude. After the game in the parking lot, he apologized to this team for the bad behavior. That's what we pictured. We pictured this scene in a story. And we're going to use the double the who in order to create a sentence from that scene. Start with our noun card. Noun, in this scene that we visualize, who or what is this about? Who's doing the action? And we said, oh, it's that boy right there. Well, we could say boy, but let's be precise. What noun could we use? When I hear the word boy, I don't have a real exact picture. I'm not really sure what you're talking about. Boy, I could say kid, I could say athlete. What's going to be the most precise word? The reader will know, oh, this is someone who plays sports. I'm getting more information with the word athlete than just kid. We have the athlete. I'm adding 2 commas. We want to tell more information about this athlete. How can we do that? Let's write in a positive. Grab another noun card. What information do we want to say about this athlete? How he's different from his teammates. He is going to apologize. How he's well-mannered. I'm choosing either a well-mannered boy, a well-mannered kid, or a well-mannered adolescent. When I think of adolescent, it's telling me that he's a teenager, so that's more precise. Many times when you think of adolescent, teenagers, and they may be goofing around or being inappropriate, sometimes that word's used in that context. If we say well-mannered adolescent, our reader can make inferences saying, here's an adolescent, but in a group of these teenagers, he's different because I'm saying a well-mannered adolescent. Let's write that on our card. The athlete, a well-mannered adolescent. Notice when we're reading, we're also practicing how to read and chunk the sentence correctly when you have an appositive. Let's grab our verb card and fill that in. We have our 2 pictures on our verb card to help us create our sentence. What kind of sentence is this going to be for? Is it going to be for a story or is it going to be for an information piece of writing? It's in a story. Use our story questions to help create the verb for this sentence. Go back to your picture in your story. What did the athlete do in this picture, or what happened to him in this picture? He's doing the action. Let's ask the what did he do question. What did this well-mannered adolescent, who's an athlete, do in this scene in our story? He's apologizing. What tense do we need to have when we're writing a story? Past tense. Apologized. Not dialogue or thoughts that the character says or thinks. These are just the sentences that are telling the story. Let's add that to our sentence. We have our red cards filled in. Does our sentence make sense? The athlete, a well-mannered adolescent, apologized. That does make sense. We're ready to go to our next color, yellow. Slow down, yellow light. Describe the subject of the sentence, and in this case, the athlete. We grab our adjective card and add some fancy words to describe our subject because we know the subject is important. We ask, what kind of? That's our adjective question. And we use the word ape to generate the best adjective for this sentence. What do I mean about the best adjective? An adjective that really will describe the subject for this sentence. Let's ape our noun. A is for appearance. Oh, that's 5 senses. P is personality. That's a personality trait. E is emotion. Personality or emotions would be our other side of the card. Let's go back to our scene. Do I need to describe what this athlete looks like, his personality, or how he feels? What describing words are going to be the best that match this sentence? We already told what his personality is like, that he's well-mannered in our appositive. So what do we have left? Appearance and emotion. I could say the tall athlete, a well-mannered adolescent, apologized. But does that really matter that he's tall? It doesn't matter if he's short, tall. That has nothing to do with this sentence. We decided to describe his emotions on our adjective card. What kind of, and then we're going to put emotions in here, what kind of emotions would this athlete be feeling apologizing to the other team? There's our question that is going to help our students focus in and have adjectives that are more precise and are meaningful to this sentence. We actually started with the word embarrassed. This adjective is important because it's describing our subject. Let's get out the thesaurus and let's find the word embarrassed. And we found mortified and humiliated. Let's put our adjective in the sentence. The mortified and humiliated athlete, a well-mannered adolescent, apologized. We have our red cards and our yellow. What do we have left? The 4 green cards. On each card, record the how, why, where, and when information about the scene in that story. Once we fill in that information on the cards, then we have to decide if that information is important. Do we need that in our sentence for our reader? Does our reader need that to visualize and to understand what was going on in that scene? And then finally, we will move those green cards in our sentence writing. Let's go ahead and walk through those steps for our green cards. We are going to start with our how green card, and we're always going to ask the verb, the how question, an adverb. How did the athlete apologize? That's going to be important that our students understand. Boys and girls, we're going to grab the how card and we're going to ask the verb, the how question, so that it turns into an ad, so that we create an ad. We're going to add the verb, the how question, and that will create an adverb. The how card is an adverb, and it's going to ask the verb how because it has a crush on the verb. How did you apologize, verb? So we're always starting with the how card, creating an adverb, and it's going to be the first card that we start with, and it's talking to the verb. Why? Because it has a crush on the verb. When we move this card, it's either going to be before or after the verb. Why? Because it always wants to be near the verb. It has a crush. How did this well-mannered adolescent apologize? And we decided we would use the word gracefully. It wasn't awkwardly. He's well-mannered. He's going to apologize with grace. So we said gracefully. Notice adding the ly because we're describing the verb, making it an adverb, using the ly in our ending. Let's put that in our sentence. The mortified and humiliated athlete, a well-mannered adolescent, apologized gracefully. Next, we'll fill in our why. And we formulate a why question using the entire sentence. Why did the mortified and humiliated athlete, who's well-mannered, apologize gracefully, and we're looking at our picture, to those other players? Why? When students are answering that question, they have some starter words. They could use because, so, for, to. These are words that they could use to generate the answer to that question to create a phrase or clause for their sentence. Why was he apologizing to these other players in this scene? He was apologizing for the poor behavior of his teammates. Put it in our sentence. The mortified and humiliated athlete, a well-mannered adolescent, apologized gracefully for the poor behavior of his teammates. Next, let's fill in our where card. Again, we're asking our question in the context of this sentence, keeping that whole scene in mind. Where did this athlete apologize gracefully for the bad behavior of his teammates. In our picture, what do you see? It's a parking lot, but give me more information. Oh, there's a lot of people there. That's right. There were a lot of people in the scene of our story. So let's say crowded parking lot. That crowded parking lot is creating a picture for your reader and telling your reader, wow, he went out there in front of everybody to apologize. That took guts. So again, you're helping children understand how they make more precise word choices, and this activity can connect to their comprehension when they're reading stories. We have in the crowded parking lot, let's put it in our sentence. The mortified and humiliated athlete, a well-mannered adolescent, apologized gracefully for the poor behavior of his teammates in the crowded parking lot. We're reading this sentence, but it may not make sense right now. We're just going back and filling in our green cards. Once we fill in the green cards, then we'll go to the next step where we decide if we even need them, and then finally we'll move them around to see how best our sentence can be created so that it makes sense and it has style and variety. We go to our last card, and that's the when card. When did our athlete apologize to those other players? We grabbed our when card and we wrote after the game. After the game, they're in the parking lot. He's apologizing about the poor behavior of his teammates. Let's put our cards in our sentence, and we have the mortified and humiliated athlete, a well-mannered adolescent, apologized gracefully for the poor behavior of his teammates in the crowded parking lot after the game. Our first step for our green cards was to fill in all the information. We have that done. Next, we need to go to the function of the green in this sentence. Green light go. Does this information go in the sentence? Does your reader need this information? We're going back to the meaning. Do I need this information? Be careful. When kids start getting these green cards, they add all this information to every sentence and they're too long and it's not even necessary. Green light go. Does each individual green card belong in this sentence? Do I need to tell you how this individual apologized? Yes. I think that's important. That adds to that scene where the reader can visualize it. We're going to keep the how card. Why? For the poor behavior of his teammates. Does that information need to be told in this sentence? Yes. In the crowded parking lot after the game, both of those cards as well. That information is necessary for your reader to see this scene. The final step is green light go, travel. Let's move the green cards around in the sentence. We have to decide, is the how going to be before or after the verb? Which one sounds best? I think the how or adverb before apologize sounds best. Let's place it before the verb card. Many times when and where can easily be moved to the front of the sentence and make sense and add more style and variety. Which one are we going to put first? When you start with when and then have the where. You could have where, when. Sometimes that makes sense, but we know it always makes sense when we have when, where. Let's read what we have. After the game, in the crowded parking lot, the mortified and humiliated athlete, a well-mannered adolescent, gracefully apologized for the poor behavior of his teammates. This is a high-quality sentence. For our final step, we need to add punctuation and capitalization. We grab the first card, which was our when card, and with a red pen, we write an A. Then we go to the last card, which was a Y card, and we put a period at the end. We place those cards back in the sentence. Next, we're going to check for capitalization. Are there any proper nouns in this sentence that need to be capitalized? A little editing trick. Go through and read our sentence backwards so we can isolate each individual word to check to see if it's a proper noun. Teammates, is that a proper noun? Is that the name of something? No. The, of, behavior, poor, the, for, apologized. As we did that, we had no proper nouns, so we didn't have to capitalize any of the words. Next, we'll go back and finish up with our punctuation in our sentence. Do we need any commas? Right away, I see green cards at the beginning of the sentence. Those are introductory elements. When I have green cards at the beginning of the sentence, what do I put after the green cards? A comma. As I go through the rest of my sentence, I have a comma before and after the appositive. We had that there already. I'm just color coding those commas red to remind me to put them in my sentence. And we go through, and that's all I need for my commas. My sentence has capitalization and punctuation. We have our double the who, where you took the traveler and you added a new skill and a positive. You're combining grammar, mechanics, and sentence writing together so that your students will take all these skills to become better writers. Next, we're going to build a triple decker.